What's up, blurbs? Welcome back to another episode of Blur the Lines, the podcast where we're just trying to figure out life's complexities along with you. Today we dive into the mind, how it works, and how we make decisions. I'm CJ, and today I will be talking about The Organized Mind by Daniel Levitin.
And I'm Yavan. I'll be tackling Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode.
All right. Welcome back.
New year, new me, you know? What's your New Year's resolutions you got here?
New Year's resolution. After the last podcast, I realized that I needed to save money. But I went out and bought this candle, red mango and amber, because there's some things that you just need in life. I needed this candle. And other than that, let's blow up this podcast. Blur the lines. Let's bring it to everybody in the world. What about you? You got any big plans for 2024?
Yeah, so I think 2023 was, if I look back at it, it's not the year I wanted. So I think this year I'm going to be more proactive about like me doing me. Do more things that make me happy, have more hobbies, and try and just be a better me that I could be.
Yeah, I think it's a good goal. I think everyone should have that goal like all the time. People need to focus on themselves.
And yeah, it originally came from the first podcast we did.
Jordan Peterson was
like, just be a little bit better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think this year it's like 365 days of, let's say, if I can just be a little bit better than yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think just from the first two books that we read, plus the third, I think I'm already implementing them. Like, yeah. I think subconsciously, like, I'm doing it. Today we talk about like the mind and how to think, and my book, I think I'm already implementing it and just starting the year fresh with money habits, hobbies, bettering myself, bettering the people around me. I don't know. I think this podcast is rubbing off on myself, and I'm not mad about it. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I do. I do a little bit. It's also nice having someone to be accountable towards. Like, having a girlfriend, yes, but it's more about like enjoying your time. Like, something like that we're doing like this is kind of hold you accountable for like the bigger things in life, and like going to the gym and like being your best self.
Yeah, I mean, even just this podcast, like, we're like, okay, we need to film this day. Read the book. Finish the book. Like, you need to do it, and we're just, I don't know. I think we take turns, and I think it's been good so far.
Yeah, me too. Well, let's dive into it. So, give us just a little background of who your author was, what the book is, just like a little synopsis.
Yeah, so I read The Organized Mind by Daniel Levitin. It was basically the title sums it up. It was about organization, and the interesting thing, though, is for a book called The Organized Mind, I found it a little bit disorganized. I know that sounds weird, but it talks a lot about, the main points of how to stay organized, but it also talks about the information overload in the world and how a lot of the information tricks your brain. So it talks a lot about different mind hacks and ways that your mind works that you don't really pick up on the day-to-day. So it was pretty interesting, but for an organized book, I'd say it's a little bit disorganized, so I kind of had to pay attention a little bit more to this one.
Yeah.
What about you?
So this week I covered Thinking Fast and Slow. Like the book title entails, it's a super well-known book. Millions of people have read it.
Yeah.
He's one of the most cited authors on Nature, actually, which is actually crazy. So like every year they give out a statistics of how many people cited your work, and he's one of the top few up there. So he did a lot of work in philosophy and psychology and the way of thinking, how people make choices. So like specialized in choices. But going to his book, I actually really like how he wrote this one. So some of the previous books has been very like technical and stuff, but this book, even though it was an audiobook, it's still comes with a little like page, like a PDF that you can view that has like examples of what he's talking about and things like that. So I was looking at these examples as I was following along. But
did you listen to it, and was there a video along with it where you could see the examples, or how did that?
That's the PDF. So it will tell you, look at figure 5 of the PDF.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which it was very simply put, and he made it super like realistic. Like it's so applicable to everyday lives. And it's whole.
So it's kind of like how Stephen Covey did it in the 7 Habits, where it, as you went along, there were super relatable examples that you could easily see yourself implementing.
Yeah,
that's nice.
He makes it super easy to understand. It doesn't, but the whole like purpose or synopsis of this book, if I could just give it out in like one sentence or two, is that in your mind there's like the automatic choice making system, which he calls system 1, so the fast thinking, and then there's the energy consuming slow thinking, which uses your energy and things like that to do. But I'll get a little bit more into it later. It's
interested to hear about that.
Yeah,
because the thing about these 2 books is the last 2 that we did, or the last 2 podcasts, the books were basically carbon copies of each other. Like they were very similar in what they were trying to express, but a little bit different in how they were expressed.
Yeah, but I mean, even like episode 2, the one book was actually based on the other.
Well, it wasn't based on it, but they mentioned it in it.
Yeah.
you just assumed, like, you were like, yeah, this is the same book.
My takeaway is it was kind of based on.
But this one's a little bit different because yours is a way of thinking, or ways of thinking, and mine is supposed to be more geared toward like an organized mind, and how to best utilize that for life, which I think are actually pretty different topics. So I'm interested to see how they kind of ebb and flow in and out of each other.
Intermingle.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get right into it.
All right.
Tell me a little bit about yours. Maybe one like key takeaway, some your favorite aspect of it.
All right. So this book kind of hits home for me because it talks a lot about attention deficit and hyperactive activities, so ADHD and ADD, and that kind of hits home for me because I'm all over the place. I'm pretty scatterbrained myself, and one thing that it talks to a lot is multitasking, and how it is a complete myth. Nobody can multitask. Your brain just turns on and off different switches when you're trying to concentrate on multiple different things. So if I'm reading an email and also working on an Excel spreadsheet, like I think I'm doing both at the same time, but no, I'm okay, turn off for the Excel, turn on for the email, turn off for the email, turn on for the Excel. And it's just doing it at a super fast rate. So anybody who's trying to multitask is actually being counterproductive. He talks a lot to, it's best to focus on the one thing, get it done, and then move on to the next thing. Because as you were talking about depleting energy, he talks a lot about like glucose levels and how your glucose storage is depleted as you're trying to multitask. So me focusing on reading a book versus, read my book, go on Instagram, read my book, go make dinner. Like all those things are depleting my glucose levels and my concentration, and actually I'll feel more tired if I'm trying to multitask. But your brain has these is just addicted to the dopamine that it gives you when you think, I did this and this today, but really you didn't do all those things to the fullest potential.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot that was left on the table, but you think your mind tricks you into thinking this was productive because you worked on so many different things. You didn't complete them. You worked on so many different things.
Yeah, it's what you just mentioned is chapter 2 of the book. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's gonna be interesting.
It goes between chapter like 2 and 3. So
yeah,
in my book, chapter 2 goes about attention and effort, and he talks about how thinking is mental effort. So it's a mental strain on your brain. And it does mention the glucose levels too, and the study that was done on how people who have reduced glucose levels actually have it's harder for them to make decisions, because deciding, like I said, he did a lot of work in decisions. He says like deciding is probably one of the most strenuous activities of the brain.
Yeah.
But it was so funny. I was just listening to this, and like I said, it's new year, new me, like better myself, and like stick to strict diets and stuff. So he talked about self-control, and self-control is deciding against your like fast brain. Your fast brain just wants candy, blah 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 blah. And so on and so forth. So he says self-control actually depletes your glucose levels, and when your glucose levels are depleted, your brain struggles to keep those decisions against.
Because after it's like tired after it makes those slower decisions, and it wants just quick.
At the end of your work day, you made a bunch of decisions. You had to do some math, stuff like that. So the glucose levels in your brain are depleted, and when your glucose levels are depleted, your automatic, so system 1, as he calls it, just like it's the automatic, like spontaneous, like eat some candy, eat this, do this, don't worry, like
and that spikes up your glucose a little bit.
You can cheat on your meal, like you don't have to like remain self-controlled, decide. It's the harder choice, but for me it was actually kind of funny, because the study that they did, that he describes, talked about the performance. There were actually 2 things. Well, do the performance one first. So they did a study with they got a bunch of teenagers, or maybe like university pupils, to take a test, but for the one group of them, they fed them sugar water right before the test, and they statistically outperformed the control group that didn't have anything right before their test. Which is kind of interesting, because whenever I used to take tests in high school, I would like chow down.
Really?
I would like eat like crazy, but
eat sugar-based food, or just?
I mean, like
regular.
Every food contains glucose. It doesn't have to be sugar. Having it in the sugar water form just makes sure that it gets there fast. Yeah. So like your body absorbs it way more quickly, because it's in this efficient form for you to absorb.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
But you can eat a potato right before it. It will be the same. It might just take a little longer.
Yeah, but you also feel like, that's interesting though, because like, so their bodies, because they just had that spike of glucose, they have their body is thinks that it's sufficient enough to make those slower decisions, and it has a higher stores than the people without the sugar water.
I'm actually gonna get back to this a little bit later, because I realized like I'm talking from a reference of system 1 and 2, and like I haven't really defined it well just yet.
Okay.
But just coming back to the point of like having glucose, and he says you need glucose to. Well, you don't need. What I read is, hey, like, if you need self-control, like if you're on a diet, you have to drink sugar water. And I don't know if that's what he was trying to say.
I don't think that's what he was getting at.
But he's saying like the more sugar water you drink, the probably easier it is to remain to your diet. So if anyone wants a tip on dietary requirements,
again, we're not a dietary podcast, so don't take any of this to heart. But if you want to try it, let us know. Email us or tag us in your diet hacks, and if that works for you, then let us know. It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe you should try it.
Yeah.
And then on the next podcast we'll talk about it. Let's say how's it going? Do you feel like you're sticking to your diet better?
Yeah, but I don't know. It's funny because then now we have to include sugar water in your diet, which is like juices. So.
Totally counterproductive, but.
Yeah, so Diet Cokes. No, not Diet. Normal Cokes.
Normal Cokes. So yeah, that's interesting.
But coming back, to just a quick example of how System 1 and 2 works. So System 1 is the automatic response of your brain and your body. So he says your brain and body go together. But for example, in his figures, so this PDF that he has a figure of like, I'm just gonna describe it to the people here, because I can't show it. But it's a sketch of a woman with frown on her face. She's grinning, like biting on her teeth. Her mouth is pulled down.
Can you just like face the camera and try to
No.
I want you to show them what you saw.
Like her nose is like scrunched up.
Yeah.
And the question is like, if you saw this face immediately, what's your first reaction?
She's angry.
Correct. Perfect.
Thank you.
That's your figure. I mean,
your description was just so good. I had to get that right.
System 1 automatic response. So like, it gives more examples of it. So, determining the distance of a tennis ball, automatic. Like your brain calculates it basically automatic based on what you know. So like the size of it.
That's like that Brain Games episode that we watched last week with the basketball and how the shadows changed your perception of what the ball was doing.
Yeah.
Like it was rolling, but if there was a shadow, it looked like it was bouncing or it was being thrown.
Yeah. So, Brain Games, I think, is based on this guy's research. So all those little illusions and things, a lot of them are in the book, which is kind of cool. Then I think in the Brain Games episode, a lot of people have seen this, but did you remember watching the people playing basketball? And then you have to count the number of passes in between.
Yes, but then there's like a gorilla that runs.
There's a gorilla that you didn't see.
They talk about that in this book as well.
So, that is also a part of System 1, which is you're focused on doing the task, so you kind of become blind. But I'll hit on that a little bit later too.
But it's even that competition sense. Like that's what they talk about in this book. Is that exact same example? Like they tell you
let's
count
that later though.
Count the amount of basketballs.
But System 1 also goes, if I give a bunch of letters that spell out W-A-T-E-R, water, your brain reads that. System 1 includes driving on an open highway. Have you ever had that feeling where you get home and you're like,
how did I get here?
How did I get here?
I was on autopilot.
They call it the flow.
Flow state.
And then another example is if I say bread and
butter.
Yeah. So
cheese.
You didn't even think about it. It's just automatic.
Yeah.
But then he goes into System 2 is what is 17 times 24?
Yeah, that takes a lot. To think about.
Immediately he says your eyes are basically the windows into your brain. So your pupils are supposed to dilate, but you could know, okay, 17 times 24 is probably more than 120, and it's probably less than like 1,000.
Wow. These books are, they talk to a lot of the same things because it talks a lot about estimation, like ballparking.
Yeah.
Trying to ballpark. When I think it talks to Google's interview questions, like they'll say, how much does the Empire State Building weigh? And obviously, that's not something people just generally know. But you say, oh well, I'm gonna assume 95% is made up of air and 80% is made up of air and 20% is made up of steel. So, and then the height of one floor, about 10 feet. And then the width of one floor, maybe 25 feet. And then try to estimate like, oh, there's maybe 30 levels. And then, oh, I'm going to guess the density of this is this. And you can kind of calculate it in your head based on just ballparking. And that's how a lot of like Google interviews go, where they just want to see how you think.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if this hit on that as much, but it's mentioned. But then like he does talk a lot about like your pupils would literally dilate when you're thinking. So he says that there's this test you can put a camera, put your book on, then actually do like 17 times 24.
You want me to actually do it, right? Okay. 358.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't know, 408 or whatever. But System 1 is a lot of the skills that we can share with other animals in this. Then System 2, now that you understand a little bit more, it's more attention. But it's also your System 2 can prime your System 1. So if I say brace for the starter gun, then you basically like prime yourself to like go. Things like that. Or System 2 is look for the woman with white hair in Grand Central. Now, like your System 2 is priming your System 1 to pick up like white hair.
Yeah, that's like Where's Waldo?
Yeah.
You look for the guy with the red and white stripes.
Yeah, and then like more normal examples for System 2 is like tell someone your phone number or like do your tax forms, stuff like that.
Right.
It's like the actual like thinking, like your brain needs to work, that type of things. But yeah. If we could talk about, so the next part is talking about your System 1, and I don't remember if this is actually System 2, but System 1 has a blindness for like situations, but your System 2 has a blindness to the blindness. So for example, the gorilla video we're talking about, I'm just gonna phrase it real quick so for the listeners. So we've both seen it, but I encourage you to go find it. There's definitely like videos online, but it's a video or a test where there are two teams. I think there's 3 girls on each side passing 2 basketballs around. So you have to track 2 different basketballs being passed between 2 different basketball player teams. So then the like instructor would ask, hey, count the number of passes between all the white shirted basketball players.
Yep.
And it's actually quite interesting. Almost everyone, it's really high percentage of people get the correct number of, I think it's like 16 in this example. But during the middle of all of these 6 players running around on a court and passing 2 balls to each other, a literal lady in a gorilla suit walks to the middle of the court, raises her arms and does like a Tinkerbell twirl and walks off. But nearly almost, it's like a crazy high percentage of people do not even recognize the gorilla. But this is where the blindness to the blindness comes in, is when asked after the video is played, is there anything odd that you saw? Everyone said no, but then the follow-up question was, would you believe us if we said there was a gorilla or something like that? Then the people would like think back, use System 2, but they would argue against actually seeing gorilla.
Yeah.
So the blindness of their like first System 1, your System 2 also has blindness for that blindness. So it
I want to slow down for a second, because you described your 2 systems. This book also has 2 systems of thinking, and I think you're diving into a couple other topics that this book actually speaks to as well.
Okay.
So the 2 that this book talks to is the central executive mode and then mind wandering mode. So your central executive is...
Can I guess what these are?
Yeah.
So central executive is probably this like bossy guy who gets stuff done. You gotta, when you're in the mode, and you finish. Like, go clean your room and clean your room type guy. Where the mind wandering guy is the more like hippie mode, where you I gotta clean my room sometime this weekend type guy. and it barely gets done, but some few things get moved. That's what it
nothing
sounds
against
like.
hippies, by the way.
That's what it sounds like.
So you were spot on with the first one.
Oh.
So, so your central executive mode is like me on Vyvanse. I am like here, and this is all I'm focused on. I have my headphones on, and I'm not even listening to anything. I just got noise canceling to block out everything around me, and I'm just going. I'm working on this one Excel for 6 hours, and I get it done. Crushed it, nailed it. The mind wandering is you're walking outside and you see I don't even know. Let me think of something. You see like a car driving by. Oh, did I start my car? I need to go warm it up. I need to make sure I do that before I leave. So it's things that you're not actually thinking about, but your mind is basically blank. It's not thinking about anything. It's just taking in things around you that makes you think of something else. So for that example, like you're not thinking about warming up your car because it's cold outside and you need to do that before you get into it so that it's warm and ready for you when you get in. You're just taking a walk down the street and you see a car and you're like, oh, I gotta warm up my car before I leave work. Like it's just those things that trigger something in your mind, but you're not actually thinking about it.
Can you give another example of this? I'm not sure if I grasp.
So let's say you're working on a project at work where you need to connect two things together, and you've been working on this project for a couple days now, and you're just not getting anywhere. But you're in that central executive mode. Like you're just focused on it. You're nonstop. And then your buddy asks you to go for a hike. So you go for a hike. You're not thinking about work. No, say you end on a Friday and now it's Saturday.
Okay.
Now it's Saturday.
Realistic example, please.
No, and now it's the weekend. All right, you're trying not to think about it. Your buddy asks you to go for a hike. So you go for a hike. You get to the top of the mountain, and you say to your friend, "Oh, can I have that water that you put in your bag?" And he unbuckles his backpack. And you're like, "Whoa, buckle? Why don't I do like a buckle clip kind of connection? That might work." But you're not actually thinking about your part or connector. It's just something triggered an answer in your mind that you weren't thinking clearly enough about when you were in that central executive mode. So they talk to you need both of these systems in order to work efficiently.
That's super interesting.
And to be organized. Because there's a lot of times where you are working on something and you're laser focused, but you cannot figure out the answer. And you say the best thing to do is get up and go for a walk. 15 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Go for a walk. Don't think about it. Maybe call your mom and talk about whatever. Clear your head, and then come back to it. And a lot of people, myself included, like, I get that. I go away and I sleep on something, and then I wake up in the morning fresh. And I'm like, oh, this is really easy. Why didn't I not think of this like yesterday? I just spent 3 hours for nothing. 3 hours doing this.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
So is it more about like, does it have to be seeing answers in other things that you're doing?
No, those are just...
It's more of connecting different fields of your life, but because you're doing different things, you're finding more intuition in the one field or the other.
Yeah, and it's not about it's not all about finding answers. Those are just the ones that I think I connect to the most, is those aha moments that you don't get. But it's really just about anything. Like you're just connecting different things, and so maybe you see one thing and it makes you think of another thing, and then you think of another thing, and then you think of another. Like it could be a huge long tree of things. But it's just connecting random things in your mind, because it's not focused on one thing. You're letting your mind wander, and it's super important to have that. And he says that if people are always laser focused like it speaks to people with ADHD. Sometimes they say that when they take their medication, they lose that creativity side of themselves. They lose that creative side because they're never in that mind wandering mode. They're always in that central executive mode. So they're always super focused, but they never get that time to just let their mind wander, because the medication literally prevents that. Like, it stops it.
That's super interesting. I've always wondered. I was also like diagnosed with ADHD when I was younger, but over time, like, the medication really, really helped at like a certain point of my life, where like I was adjusting to like the new high school, stuff like that, and it was super helpful at the time. But I felt like the more mature I got, the more I grew up, the more my brain matured, the less I wanted it, until the point where like I thought that having ADHD, it's gonna sound cliche or cheeky or whatever, but it was almost a superpower.
Yeah.
Where, yes, at the very moment, I needed to focus super hard to answer a question on a test or something like that. You needed to be in that like CEO mode, which it could have helped taking the medication, but I felt like I was a better holistic person in like all the different fields of my life when I didn't take it.
Yeah.
So then I legitimately like just for myself like stopped taking it and struggled initially.
Yep.
But I found more ways in which like I need to study and things like that. So I literally like, this was before like Zoom was even a thing. I would send my friends I don't even remember the name. Skype. Oh. I would send my friends like Skype call invites and be like, hey, let's study together. So it's, instead of just like reading, taking notes and things like that, it's more of a conversation, and like I felt like that just like catered for what my brain needed in like an ADHD state of mind. So instead of just like being laser focused on one, we would like talk about this and that as we're like going through, and I felt that facilitated more of what you were just describing, where you're making connections.
Yeah.
Not only between different parts of your brain, but I was making connections between different parts of my brain and someone else, which they would like, describe their connections. So more like there were more connections in general. Yeah,
and I mean, if you're taking a test and you're looking at a question and you're like, oh, I've seen this before. Oh, right, we were talking about hot dogs. All right, now how did we get onto hot dogs? And then you can trace it back somehow. And it's those little connections that I don't know, I found super helpful when I was studying, because I was also diagnosed and do have medication, but I don't take it all the time. But I just started taking it 6 months ago. And so all through high school and
recently
college.
Diagnosed?
No, I was diagnosed a long time ago, but didn't really feel like I needed it. Like, I found other ways to quickly
there is a lot of stigma against. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I feel like there is a lot of stigma against people with ADHD or that take Concerta, Ritalin, whatever you guys have here. It's like, I mean, in its name itself, like, it's a attention deficit disorder or something. ADD.
Yeah.
I don't remember what ADHD is.
Attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had that one.
Yeah, same.
Or I have that one. I've just learned how to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely there were definitely ways that I was able to cope with it and be able to kind of like turn it on and off like a superpower, like you were saying, where if I had a class, I could drink a cup of coffee and that would make me focused. Like,
I'm the complete opposite there.
Yeah, no, that stimulant
makes me think like in 50 million directions at the same time.
Yeah, no, like when I have a cup of coffee in the morning, I am laser focused for, that hour and a half or so. And then when it wears off, well, class is over at that point, so I don't really care. But when I'm working 8 hours a day, it's not like I can just have 7 cups of coffee and be okay. My heart would explode. Yeah. So that's when I started on it. Was recently, because I felt that it was actually like holding me back a bit. But I probably take it 2 to 3 times a week, because I don't think I need it all the time, and I relate to this, like that mind wandering mode. I feel like I need it. Otherwise, I am tired more if I'm always laser focused, like those glucose levels that you were talking about. Like, what was that? The type 2 or? What was the thinking? What was the 2 different types?
Oh, system 1 and system 2.
System 2. Yeah.
Sorry, it doesn't know what you were asking. But let's actually like dive deeper into that just like a bit.
Yeah.
It's veering off the books right now, but what have you done? Like, what are some of the techniques that you've actually done? Like, if people had ADHD or ADD, what are some things that you do? What I found works really well for me, and I guess my roommates kind of like hated it, is if I need to go in that CEO mode, or I need to like focus and I need to get stuff done, the main first thing that I would do is I got noise cancelling headphones, and I would only play 2 types of music. I have Avicii, which I listen to when I need to grind out because the paper is due at 12.
Yep.
Or I listen to this band called King's Kaleidoscope, which they have like instrumental covers. But I would only listen to those 2 bands. If I listen to other music, I'll get distracted.
Yeah.
So I basically found like 2 bands that I liked. Just loved Avicii forever, and I started doing work on it. Like, started doing homework, listening to Avicii, and that's when I first realized, like, hey, I know the music well enough that it doesn't distract me. But like, I'm not singing with it, like I just vibe with it.
Yeah.
But then later, like, I found this other band who does instrumental covers, but it's kind of weird that they've got like really interestingly mesh of symphonic and like jazz, hard rock type music.
Interesting.
They're really interesting. I bet like most people would listen to me like, what the heck is this? But like, when I found them, I liked the way they sounded because I used to play music, but they were chill enough for me to like listen to while I'm working. So now I almost only listen to King's Kaleidoscope if I need to grind out. But going back, to them, is their music is so interesting that I feel like it puts me in the CEO mode, but it also tickles the hippie side. Or what you call it.
The mind wandering.
The mind wandering side.
Yeah.
It's like, it's very sporadic. It's very like crazy, but it like stimulates that mind wandering side of mine. Which is actually kind of, I started playing with this concept in high school of listening to certain bands when studying certain subjects. So for history, I would listen to this.
I've never heard of that. I mean, it makes sense. That connection.
For those connections. That's how it started. But I realized, like, some bands, like, if there's too many words. Now I think about it, Avicii also doesn't have that many words. It's very, like, EDM. Like, do 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 do.
That was really good.
So I guess, like, the words distract me now that I'm like, saying this out loud. But yeah, so that didn't work as well. Avicii worked well, but then King's Kaleidoscope instrumentals works fantastic. It's phenomenal. I could work for like 8 hours like straight.
Yeah, see, it's funny that you mentioned music because that was mine as well. Music is a big outlet for me to, if I need to focus, I need to grind something out, I have my headphones on and I'm listening to music. unlike you though, maybe I should try it. Is I don't have a specific band or artist that I listen to get into that mode. Maybe it would be helpful to have something that's okay. I need to focus. Let me put on this on repeat. Let me put on Taylor Swift on repeat. But
Taylor Swift. Yeah.
But like I'll put on just country music, and I don't know. The words don't distract me. They like, I don't know. They get me fired up, and I don't know what it is about the stimulants, because it's the coffee, it's the like bump in music kind of thing that gets me just amped up, and I'm ready to go. It's almost like getting ready for a big game. Like I'm just getting amped up. Like anytime before a test, I listened to the highest like upbeat songs that I could. And my roommates would get so mad because I would have it on full blast on the speaker in my room, and I'm just like, let's go, getting hyped up to take a freaking final exam. And but it worked. I mean, I don't know what it is about music. I don't really go for the instrumentals as much. But just anything upbeat, it just gets me really laser focused. So music and coffee were probably the biggest things, and then also those 10-minute, 5-minute walks. Like we have the little pond outside our work where I would just go for walks, and then in the winter time it would be a little bit tougher, so I'd put on music, or I'd just go walk around the hallway a little bit, just to again get away for a second, come back. Okay, now you have 30 more minutes to focus. And I could get that in like small sections. It was just tough for an 8-hour day.
Yeah. So music.
Mm-hmm.
The other technique is working with friends.
Yeah, 100%.
Major improvement in anyone that has ADHD. If you guys can, you kind of again keep each other accountable, like I mentioned earlier. Where like if you veer off a little bit, the other one brings you back. That was a really big help for me, or a really big realization on like, I can really do well if I just work with friends, be it Skype calls or whatever.
Yeah, because I mean, I get like if I'm by myself, I'm checking everything around me and all the like YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, and there's so many different things, which this book talks to a lot, but there's so many different things where if I'm just by myself, trying to read a book is going to be like impossible, or trying to like memorize a textbook or anything like that.
But then something else that worked a little bit for me, but it was too time consuming, is I did like mind mapping too.
Oh, you've talked to me about this.
Yeah. So the basic concept of this is similar to the wandering state. Is you put a main in the center of your page, you would put like your main topic. So we can talk like human biology. Then you'd create lines, and that would be like a subtopic. So you'd put like digestive system, and then from that you create like 3 more lines, and then you put stomach, esophagus, anything.
Intestine.
Duodenum.
Yeah.
But the concept of it is it's a better way for your brain to make connections between the pages of your book. So these would also then intersect at different points. So you'd be like duodenum, but also intersects from the pancreas, because that's where the bile gets secreted. So it's these concepts. They work really well if you have the time to make them.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
I think that's really good though. The connection part of it is huge, because you're just thinking in your head, okay, mind map, where do I go? Oh, this was written in the top right corner. Okay, I see it. Where does it go from there?
Yeah, and it creates a literal map, like an image really cool. That you can remember. Yeah. So, like I said, I tried that, but I'm way too procrastinatory, or whatever you want to say. Procrastinate too much, so like it's hard to cram with mind mapping.
Yeah,
but it works really well.
I mean, that's like the executive disorder that most people with ADHD have. Like, they don't have I don't know if it's willpower or whatever it is, but they put things off until they're under pressure. And once they're under pressure, it's laser focused, and they have that executive function to just go, okay, I gotta go. I gotta do this now. Otherwise something bad happens.
Then stimulants, I'm like wary about. They work like pressure for me too. Like pressure, I think, is a stimulant. Like sometimes
definitely get your heart pumping.
Yeah,
that adrenaline rush.
When there's 10 minutes left to 12, and you gotta finish 2 more pages.
Yeah. Or so, like, even off of homework or school, if someone if you're having people over in an hour, people go nuts just to clean their entire house to make sure that everything's in order for when somebody gets there. But for some reason, the week before, they knew that people were coming over, and they didn't vacuum, they didn't wash the bathroom, they didn't do the dishes. And the day of, let's do everything. Like, that's just how it goes sometimes.
But yeah, so I feel like those are my experiences, or at least so my methods of how I got past ADHD.
Yeah, I think also
how I use it in my. And the last one too is I would literally set timers, and I still do that at work sometimes, where I'd be like, I'd work for like 15 minutes and then like take a 10-minute break.
Yep.
50 minutes, 10-minute break. 50.
I mean, that's super good for your mind. That's exactly what this book talked to. Is 50 minutes is like the amount of time that one can really focus on something without getting into that mind wandering mode, and then take a 10-minute walk around, and then come back, and it's 50 minutes. Like, you can do this for 50 minutes. You can bust through this for 50 minutes, and then you get a little break, and you can go into that mind wandering mode.
Yeah, and then my last technique, which I did throughout college, and it helped me so much to save time, to save energy, effort, is I decided that like class time is like CEO mode time, but like I combined it with this mind wandering state too. So a lot of my professors would put up the homeworks the day of class.
Yep.
And you usually have like a week or till next class. So I would pull up the homeworks next to him teaching or her teaching, and I would go into the class deciding that. So if it's a 50-minute class, it's like a 50-minute of me focusing, trying to do both at the same time, and paying absolute attention to what they're saying and taking notes, because I didn't want to spend a single second outside of that classroom doing homework.
See, I think that speaks to maybe it worked for you, but that speaks to the multitasking thing of like your brain's just turning on and off between the two things. Like, you're trying to do both at once, but
it's what I would do is like read the question, and like obviously if it's physics or something that I've never seen before, I have no idea what they're asking.
Yeah.
So I feel like that almost primed my brain to, hey, like, you think of this, like that wondering, like, how does this make sense? How can this apply? Then I'm like listening to my professors, and as soon as something makes a little bit more sense,
I get what you're saying. Yep.
I'd go back to it and check it out. But
you have that connection, like you look at the question and you see a key word or something, and then you're listening and you hear that key word and it triggers something, and then you look back.
So, something like that. So I don't know. It worked really well for just basic understanding.
Yeah.
I studied far more in high school than what I did in college.
Yeah,
and I feel like that was a big aspect of it, where I'm like, work in the classroom.
Yeah.
Because most professors like require you to be there anyway.
Yeah.
And do something else. Go play sport.
I mean, for me, it was kind of the opposite, where I would learn it in class, try to focus, take notes, have my coffee, so I'm there, I'm focused, and then I would have that mind wandering state or mind wandering mode while I was doing the homework, and then be like, oh, I remember they said this. Where was that? Where was I? And it's almost like a mind map. It's a vivid image in my head of, okay, I was sitting here. The whiteboard was here. The answer to my question is somewhere over here. Like, I don't know. It was a visual in my head, and I had to.
Somewhere there, but you can't see it though.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think it's right there. No, when I was taking tests, a lot of the times that would happen, I'd be like, okay, I remember this was on this page, middle of the page. Okay, let me see where it is. There was a picture of this, and I drew a picture of this while I was reading it. So it's that mind wandering, but also something else that was really helpful for me, and I don't know if this was you as a kid either, but I was always busy, like always. My entire day up until like end of college was do this, go here, have a meeting, have lunch, go here, and then it's 9 o'clock at night, and so I was forced to be very good at time management, which like helped me be in that executive mode when I needed to be, because I was so busy throughout the day that I only had 3 hours to do my homework, or I only had an hour to do my homework or study for a quiz. So it was like, it's now or never. You have to do it. So I was always kind of in that pressured sense.
Yeah, I think that's a lot like me.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That helped me out a lot. And then it was weird leaving college, because my time was work and then go home, and you just have like 6 hours before you go to bed.
You know,
I'm gonna go take a nap. I'm gonna go sit
experience. My senior year of college, no, grad year.
Yeah.
I would leave for swimming, 5:30 in the morning, and my whole day would be scheduled maximum an hour break anywhere in a normal day.
Mm-hmm.
Maximum an hour break, and then my last class would end at 9 p.m. every night.
Yeah.
So it's from 5:30 to 9 every single day, 5 days a week. It was easier than what it is working 9 to 5.
Yeah. Because and also I think too, because it's all different things. So like for you, for example, you're in swim mode. That's one part of your brain. That's your body, your physical aspect. Then you go to your internship, and now you're thinking about something about the task at hand. And then you go to class. Oh,
swimming again.
Okay. Well, I'm just okay. I didn't
actually.
I don't know your entire schedule by heart.
My day was lift in the morning.
Yeah.
Swim after. So hour lift, like 2 hours swim.
Yep.
Internship. Got back. Some days I had afternoon classes. I mean, like mid-afternoon classes.
Mm-hmm.
Rarely. It's like once a week. But then I would go home, eat quick. After my internship, swim, get out, go to 6:30 to 9 p.m. class.
Yeah.
And I had 6:30 to 9 p.m. every single day, because that's just how grad classes work.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you're using different parts of your brain, so it's not so boring for your mind.
Yeah,
like it's
no.
it's always on. It's always active. Whereas when you're working 9 to 5, you're always thinking about the same thing for that chunk of time, unless you're like us, where we kind of work on a bunch of different things, which is why I like where we work now, because we work on a bunch of different projects. Oh, someone needs help over here. All right, let's go. It helps my brain stay active on a lot of different things at one time.
Okay.
Or be able to switch from one topic to another easily.
Man, my brain wandered again. I want to get back into my book, just one again.
Yeah, no, we should get back into the books that we actually read. But I hope that was helpful. If it was helpful to anybody, let us know.
Yeah, I feel like your CEO mode and almost they're similar, but they aren't the same. Your two ways of thinking.
No, I don't think that they're the same. They're similar. They're similar in like the fast acting. Like the executive mode is like your system 2. for you because it depletes that glucose level. Like you're focused on a task and you're just you're soaking up everything and you're just getting tired at the end of it.
Almost. This is a perfect segue to what I was wanting to talk. So, a big aspect of System 2 is that it says it's the lazy trait. So out of the two, your System 2 is super lazy because it's energy consuming. It tries to conserve as much energy as possible. So your System 2 will always, well, nearly always, take the laziest route to complete a task.
Yeah.
So they do say that he describes it as there's a natural walking speed, right? If you go on a stroll, you'll be able to think. You'll be able to do math sums. If we're just on a stroll at your walking speed, I can ask you what's 17 times 24, and you'll be able to figure out 408, whatever it is.
I want to look it up now. I want to see. What is it actually?
Isn't it crazy that
we don't know?
What?
I think I said 358. What is it? 17 times 24?
I think so.
408. Damn, I was wrong.
Yeah. But like he says, that's the stroll which you can't think. So the stroll is you in your System 2 at its flow state. So the flow state is the brain's stroll state.
Yeah.
If he says, if you go and ask a person to walk just slower than comfortable or just faster than comfortable, go try and do like another math sum again. He says it's like way more difficult than what you can think. If you actually have to walk just a little bit faster than normal. But if you think about it, have you ever tried to do like math when you're like running or something like that?
No, I've never tried to do math while I'm running. I'm running.
You don't run?
Whoa.
Yeah. But
no, I clearly don't do math though.
So, yeah, that's true. So he describes the System 2 can go into the flow state, which is the state of effortless concentration.
Yeah.
So the flow state, which remember earlier I gave a couple examples of Systems 1, 2, and flow state typically is seen when driving a car on an open road, where like you're doing everything. You're actually like performing a miracle of changing gears if you have a manual car and driving, keeping your like center of gravity in the lane. I don't know.
Well,
if you go around a curve,
let's just say that we're staying in the lane.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything about the center of gravity. The car's doing that.
Well, I mean, if you turn too fast, it's gonna bloop.
Well, yeah, true.
So all of that's going on, but
yeah,
your brain is just in the state of like effortless concentration.
Yeah, I mean, this book talks to that too, and it's the attentional filter is what it calls it here. And it's basically, you're in that flow state, you're driving down the road, and then all of a sudden the road gets bumpy. Oh, whoa, what was that? Like, your brain doesn't pick up on, it's a smooth road. Your brain picks up on the change. It picks up on new things. It picks up on things that are out of the ordinary. So, like, if you walk into a room, have you ever walked into a room and you're like, something's different?
No.
Something's weird. So, but your brain isn't gonna walk into your bedroom and be like, oh, everything's the same. Nice. You don't think that. I don't think that anyway. Like, I've never thought that. I've never walked into a room and
me coming back this week.
This is the same.
Whoa, it's clean.
It's because I have an organized mind now.
Yeah, nice.
No, but that exactly. You came in and you're like, whoa, it's clean. Like, something's different. But you wouldn't come in and be like, oh, my sock is still there. Like, no, you're not gonna think that. Yeah. So yeah, it's that flow state that I think that you're speaking to but it's just called the attentional filter.
In your book?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that leads into all forms of voluntary effort, being cognitive, emotional, physical, draws from a pool of your mental energy. So if you break that down, like anything that you do does require that mental energy, does require that glucose. If it, like he says, emotional, cognitive, or physical, which I found interesting. Like, I would think mental energy is only thinking.
Yeah.
But he says physical movements, stuff like that, also draw from that same pool of energy.
I mean, I guess it is still thinking, though, right? Is it saying that you're thinking about your physical movements, or just like if I go for a run,
I think
I won't be able to think straight?
No, here we go. I think you are mentally drained if you were to go for a run right now.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be physically like muscles, but I think you'd also be mentally drained because you don't run often, so you don't go into that flow state.
Right.
It's like us if we go play some ping pong. It's nothing that we normally do. So I think it drains from your mental energy to actually hit the ball.
Yeah.
Stuff
yeah.
like
You're
that.
you're just using a different part of I guess physically you're using different muscles,
Yeah.
but mentally your brain is like, wait, I don't normally do this. I need to think about, okay, backhand, forehand, whatever.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
But
you're actually thinking
I think
about it.
the same is for like any physical activity. Like, we were talking about habits too in some prior.
In the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, Jordan Peterson also said that your habits should become automatic.
Yeah.
And I think this relates to the same thing where if you go to the gym every day, the day that you don't go is when you're like, what am I doing? Like,
It's weird.
yeah, like
Something's wrong.
something feels wrong. Like,
Yeah.
because you get into such a habit that like doing like a barbell bench press, you've done it so many times that it's not a mental effort for you to do anymore, but
Right.
it's just a physical exercise.
Right. Yeah. This book, it basically, so going into the information overload part of this book and the decision making. You spoke to it a little while ago, where the amount of decisions that you make in a day is absurd. You wake up and you're already deciding stuff. You're deciding, oh,
You decide to wake up.
yeah. I'm getting up. Oh, I'm gonna check my text messages. I'm gonna put on my socks. I'm gonna put on my pants. I'm gonna brush my teeth, and I'm gonna go to work. Like, all in the matter of what, 10 minutes? Oh, I'm also gonna go to the gym. Oh, I gotta do this. Oh, I gotta do this. Oh, I gotta take out the garbage when I go to the gym, so I don't forget to do that because it's trash day. All these things can run through a person's head, and probably way more.
I think it's way more. Like, for example, like, what shirt?
Yeah.
Don't feel like this shirt.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, like, people will lay out, or like people have other people lay out clothes for them, and it's like, okay, I don't even have to think about this. This is what I'm wearing. And so it's those little things of how can I make these decisions not so mentally taxing. And some of it goes to like what you were saying, where it's a habit. It's, oh, I don't even have to think about it. I know that Tuesday I wear my green socks. Like something silly like that. Or I go to the gym. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I go to the gym those days. I don't even have to think about it. I wake up, I go. But it's also little things. So this is, I don't think I've really talked about many of the tips besides the walk and, multitasking is a myth. But one of the tips, and I told you earlier.
Is this from your author?
This is from the author. One of the tips is to put things in places where it doesn't even have to be a decision at that point. It's the mind wandering, and it just, it clicks in your head. I mean, I put that bag on the door for the shredding so that when I go to work, I have to open that door. I have to touch that bag in order to walk out, get my shoes, and go to work.
Yeah. What he's describing here is, I walked into the house and there's a bag full of, like, it looks like garbage to me.
Yeah.
Just hanging from the door. And what he's saying is that you put the bag in the way that you can't miss it on your way out. So your wandering brain, or wandering state, mind, personality, the hippie, automatically just grabs it as you leave the door.
Yeah. And I'm not thinking.
I think a lot of people do the same thing with like trash. They would like, okay, trash bag, new trash bag, put this at the door so the next day I can just take it out.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we do that too. But I mean, we do. And it's a really good habit to get into of, I don't have to think about this. It's already there. Like I don't need to worry about writing it down so that it sets a reminder so that I actually do it. Because now I have to, 1, remember to put the reminder. 2, hear the reminder. 3, turn off the reminder and go grab the bag.
Remember what the reminder is for.
Remember what the reminder is for. Go grab the bag. Now bring it to the car, put it away. Don't put it down before I put it away in the car, because otherwise I'm gonna forget it. So it's little things like that. And then the other thing is everything has its place. Nothing is out of place. This is huge in this book and huge in life. They speak to, my socks go in my sock drawer. I'm not taking my socks and I'm gonna put some are on my dresser and then others are on the bookshelf and then others are in my dresser drawer. Like, no, they're always in my sock drawer. Everybody has a sock drawer. Oh, I'm out of socks. They're not gonna be anywhere else besides the laundry basket. I'm not just gonna have the socks all strewn about. Like, they're in my sock drawer. If they're not there, I probably need to do laundry because I've worn them all. So everything needs a place, and I'm really bad at this. I do not have a place for everything.
Which laundry basket?
Yeah, I literally have 2 laundry baskets. But it's something that I'm trying to implement now is reorganizing and saying, okay, this is going to be my travel bag. This is going to be my sock drawer. This is going to be my underwear drawer, my shirts drawer. My nice shirts are going to get hung up. Like all those little things. So I know where everything is. And if I think in my brain, okay, what's the category? Another thing, categorize all of your items. So what's the category? Clothes. Okay, probably in my room. All right, now socks. Okay, dresser, bottom right drawer. Okay, got it. So it's having all those places and not a bunch of junk drawers. They say in the book, only have 1 junk drawer. I have 1 in every room.
Jeez, no. I've always had a junk drawer. That's actually really funny. It's a trunk drawer where it's just everything is just in there, like any little nuancy little gift that someone gave me, I don't know, it's just in a trunk drawer. But I think at least it's easier to implement for like your things at home, for example, like your clothes. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, probably 90% of people, get that right with my clothing.
I would hope so. Yeah.
But I think it's applying that to like the more important things of your life.
Yeah.
Where for me, it's like I do the same thing with emails. It's my emails either unread, which means I'm gonna read it, or it's read and deleted if it needed to be.
Yeah.
If you can apply something like that to more like your work life, and keep that everything has a place at like work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the chapters in this, so the chapters in the beginning are separated by like organization at home, organization at work, organization at school. Like it's all those different things. So I was speaking to organization at home because right. I figure if I can start at home, then like the rest of my life can follow. Like one of the things for work is a filing system. So whether it's online or in an actual filing cabinet, like you have, okay, all these papers for insurance, all these papers for vendor names, all these whatever, and then there's your miscellaneous. Because my question to you is, the junk drawer, how often do you go in there and say, is there a home for this? Or should it stay in the junk drawer? I also feel like I'm saying junk drawer.
Junk drawer. Not that often, but I feel like I know when I was putting things in there, it's all like random stuff.
Well, that's the thing, is like you have
like I know, like I didn't have a place for like, I know there's a hammer in there. I know there's like a mini handle vacuum on there. Yep. I know there are batteries in there. I know there are zip ties in there.
Yep.
Like
I know there are command strips in there. I know there's tape in there.
Hanging things in there.
Yep.
Like I feel like I know what was in there.
Yep.
And if there was a place for it, I would have put them somewhere else.
Yeah. So I mean, but even in that case, maybe we don't have a place for it, but somebody else, like if you guys out there, if you have a screwdriver, a hammer, and a drill, tools, that's a category. Like, go find a place for tools. So it's not a junk drawer where you have Scotch tape and a vacuum and all these little things, because the more that you put into your junk drawer, you're just going to be like, where was that? I have no idea. It's a tool. I have tools in the junk drawer, but I also have a tool. I don't know I had no idea where those are.
Yeah.
So like one thing I did was I took some of the bins, or one of the bins, and made it like party supplies or holiday. And then that's what that bin is. And it's not changing. That's what it is. One is just sports.
Is this one of my bins? Or?
No, one of my bins. But it's just like that thing of the other stuff is, it's kind of common sense. Like, have a place for something and put it there, and don't put it somewhere else. But the junk drawer thing, like, when I have like a file or something and I don't know where it goes, like I have one copy of a packing list, and I need that packing list, but I don't have a place for it anywhere in my folders. So it's an important document that I don't want to get rid of. So miscellaneous. But then as soon as I get 3 or 4 more packing lists, I have a set of packing lists. Okay, now I should put a folder that says packing lists and do that. And then maybe I get 3 or 4 from one place, packing list from this, and organize it from there. But it moves from the junk drawer. It doesn't just stay there.
Right. It's a temporary holding spot until you can make a spot.
Yeah. The other thing that I found interesting was multiples of something, which I also started implementing. So I have a water bottle for at home, a water bottle in the car, and a water bottle at work. So one travels with me, one stays here, and one is at work. So then I don't need to carry it one place to another, and I'm like, oh shoot, I left it at work. Yeah. Oh, it's in the car, which I didn't bring today. Oh man. So trying to do these little things, but I think that'll be super helpful, is just having multiples of something, so you're not traveling from one place to another with different things. Because I put things down all the time.
It's it sounds like it's like remembering.
Yeah.
And okay, it doesn't really go along the side, but it just reminded me of this author. He was speaking about how memory is like a function of System 1. So
which is the fast thinking.
Yeah. So he says like color of the sky.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to think about it. That type of memory. It's not like what year was Hitler born in.
Yeah.
Like fast memory is a function of System 1, but I wanted to get into this also a little bit. Is we're talking about like energy and how System 2 is the lazy one. And have you ever heard about like the bats and bowl problem?
Bat, like the bird,
like
or like the
no.
Bat and bowl?
Yeah, it's a famous problem. But basically, so
I said bat like the bird.
The flying animal.
Yeah. That's another thing it talks to.
Do this real quick if you haven't heard about it. But,
okay.
A bat and bowl together cost $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the bowl. How much does the bowl cost?
10 cents. The bat and bowl together is $1.10.
Yeah.
The bat costs $1 more than the bowl. Oh wait, no, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
5 cents.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That was literally perfect example. So your System 1 is wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's assumptions. It's taking in like, it uses the information that it has, but it doesn't look at information that it doesn't have.
Yeah.
So it immediately like makes a decision and says it. you'd be like fine to find out that they said like 50% of Harvard, Yale, and like BU people all did the same thing you just did.
Yeah. So I went to Yale as well.
Yeah. But this goes back to like the law of like the least effort. So your system 1 made a decision.
Yeah.
But your system 2 can make another decision to check that before you answer.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't want to because that's more effort. Your system 2 is the energy consuming system.
Yeah.
So you basically like have to invest energy to check your system 1, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But then have you ever heard of like the kids and the marshmallow problem, or the kids and the cookie?
No.
So they did this study where they gave a kid an Oreo.
Yeah.
Put it in front of him. Said him, you can eat this one, or I'll be back in 15 minutes. Then I'll bring you 3. But if you eat it, I'm not gonna give you the 3. And this was in like controlled room, and like no one was in the room. It was just the kid and the cookie. And 15 minutes for a kid is a long time.
Yeah, to be just staring at a cookie. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, I think like most kids, I don't know what the split was. I can't remember, but a lot of the kids ate the cookie, and some of the kids waited for the 3.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting part of this was like, hey, like you prove that like some wait, some don't, how the brains work. But they redid tests on these people 10 years later, and they found that basically every single kid that could wait or delay its gratification was far more successful in life, like money-wise, job-wise, everything-wise, than the other kids that ate the cookie immediately.
Well, that's like your self-restraint thing that you were talking about.
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah. So it takes energy to keep convincing your system 1 to not have the cookie.
Yeah.
It takes energy to keep pushing away any temptations, because you're thinking of the long term.
Yeah.
Because short term, like you can have that cookie right now.
I kind of want a cookie. But in that sense, like, I wonder if when you're using that system 2 to say, no, I'm not going to eat this cookie. Okay, that depletes my energy. But your body's a magnificent thing. Like, so I wonder if your body regulates that and says, okay, my baseline cannot be, I'm just going to put an arbitrary value to this, 50, because I just used half of that to not eat that cookie. Now my baseline needs to be 60, so that when I don't eat that cookie, I'm not as mentally or physically drained as I was the last time. And then I'm drained again. Okay, it needs to be more. Okay, it needs to be more. It needs to be more. So the more that you kind of train your body to have that self-restraint and focus on system 2 in those tough decisions where system 1 is like, I want this, your body kind of regulates and gets used to that depletion and self-corrects almost. I wonder if that, I don't know, I'm not quoting anything, I'm interested to, I wonder if that's a thing. That would be really cool if your body was like, I wonder if that's why people 15 years later, their body was like, okay, you didn't eat that cookie, but you were pretty tired afterwards. You need higher levels. And then by the time 15 years rolled around, they were up here, and those people who ate the cookie were, their like baseline level was still down here.
Yeah.
I don't
know too. Let me just touch on this next part of System 1. This one was actually like eye-opening to me. And let me just go through the exercise that they went through. I'm gonna give you like 3 arbitrary words, then I'm gonna spell out a word for you, and you just have to fill in the blank. right?
I'm gonna get it wrong. I keep doing these tests. So I'm gonna get it
you're
wrong.
not. If I say like cutlery, steak, water, then SO-P. What is the fourth word?
Soap.
Did you say soap?
Yeah.
Okay. I did it wrong, but basically what
was it supposed to be soap?
It's soup. So if you see the words and stuff, you would immediately be your system 1 would immediately say soup.
It's like the what do you eat soup with? A fork.
Yeah.
Because I forget what that is.
The joke, yeah.
Yeah, but they keep saying
orc or something like that.
4, and then fork or something like that. But interesting.
So this phenomenon is literally called priming. So priming is one of the things that persuades your system 1. So they talk about the priming. There's a lot of things that go into priming, but just seeing a word or just seeing someone or seeing someone's face makes you more familiar with it. So familiarity is a really big one, which causes you to your system 1 to feel more safe around it. So they referenced this as like back in the times if we're still living like savanna plains, if you would see like zebras the whole time and nothing really happens, then you'd associate a feeling of safety around them. But if you'd see lions the whole time and one of your family members gets eaten, you'd immediately associate them with danger. So you'd immediately become scared if you see a lion's face. So priming nowadays is like used like propaganda and is a result of why this was a YouTube video that talked to this too, as a result of why these campaigns for elections cost so much, because the leaders of the campaigns or the candidates want to get their face out to the people as much as possible. So that's why they're speaking at every single state, every single day, flying all over, because they want to increase the familiarity that you associate them with. So
right. Because maybe one time it's a negative association, but then the next 30 times it's a positive association.
Yeah.
So statistics.
But
they're playing the gambling game.
Yeah, it's a gambling game, but when you actually like watch the people and stuff like that, they're not doing anything really bad. The thing is, you are probably getting more primed. Let's say if you're very like left, you're probably getting more primed from your left media or left like friends that you're hanging out with than what you are from like just viewing.
That's really funny because there was a study in here and it talked to so there was a group of Republicans, a group of Democrats, and a group of independents, or people that were said to be neutral. And the first group, they watched a video, say this is the Republican side, and they watched a video and they were asked, how did you feel about that? And they said, oh my God, it was so geared toward like the Democrat side, and they said all this, and it was super prejudiced toward in a positive way towards the Democrats. And then they said, okay, great, thanks. The Democrats went, oh my God, that was so prejudiced toward the Republican side, and like it just showed them in such a good light, whatever. And then the neutrals went and they were like, I thought that was a pretty good video. That was pretty even square on both sides, and said points to this side and said points to that side, and they all watched the exact same video.
Yeah.
And it was just to your point, that priming of what they saw, their tunnel vision basically turned on and said, oh, well, this is all about like blah, 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 blah. But in reality, like the people who were said to be neutral, they said, no, there were 5 points set on the Republican side and 5 points set on the Democratic side, and that was good. People just don't see that.
Yeah. that gets into he has this long term for it, and he has a little acronym or whatever, but it's what you see is all there is the phrase he uses. So what you see is all there is, meaning that like this goes back to you're blind to the information that you can't see.
Yeah.
But it sounds like what you see is all there is. So if you only take emotions or feel anger because of the 5 Republican points or because of the 5, you're only gonna see that. So you're only gonna have issues with that. But just want to touch on primed, which I want to highlight this section because it's actually pretty scary. So they primed people with the notions and the thoughts of money.
Okay.
Before conducting tests on them.
Yeah.
So money primed people. So people who think of money. They did this with like monopoly money, priming a person. They had like dollar bills falling as screensavers. Mm-hmm. So it's like priming can be like very like different things.
Mm-hmm.
It
definitely
can be like visual.
Some are subtle and some are.
And some are literal words like invest or stuff like that.
Yep.
Or get rich, stuff like that. And they found that the money primed people exhibited far more individualistic traits and characteristics when they were put in situations. So for example, like individualistic, I mean like it's selfish, they're less helpful, and they're like less emotional towards other people.
These are the people that were primed.
The money primed people.
Yeah.
So the people were primed with money, so like get rich.
Yeah.
Then they would have a woman carrying pencils drop all her pencils, but all the money primed people would statistically pick up less pencils and help the person less than the other candidates who primed with other things.
Wow.
That's great. Like you literally become more like
a different person.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, in that case it was selfish, but just in general, you just become a different person based on I'm just gonna say propaganda because that's
money propaganda.
But yeah, it's what it is. It's just things that are shown to you, and it just like changes the way that you're mentally wired almost.
Isn't that nuts?
That's horrifying.
That's crazy. And it's like these things, it's subtle. It's screensavers on screens that you walk by, or like anything.
That's absolutely horrifying to think that in a week's time I could think completely different because of the ads I see, or like something that I see subconsciously that primes me.
Yeah. But again, priming works more on your system 1. So
it's still my neural circuits.
It's your fast thinking, but like if someone falls, like to go in and help them or do something like that. I don't know. It definitely probably does, because your system 1 is basically your first voice for your system 2, and then your system 2 checks in.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When I heard that, I'm like, oof, that's kind of scary.
Well, I mean, there's the study of the people who they interviewed 2 groups of people, and so one group they said they were testing their memory, and I think you hit on this a little while ago, but bring it back. They tested their memory, and they said, how fast was the car going when they hit? How fast was the red car going when they hit the blue car? I don't know if that's exactly what it is, but something like that. And then they said to another group, they said, how fast was the red car going when they smashed into the blue car? And is that word change and the word association, smashed, it seems way more aggressive than hit. So the average speed that was said was higher for the group that was told or asked, how fast was it going when it smashed into the blue car, versus the other group who they just said hit. So it literally can change your core memory of what you saw based on what is said to you. And people will also say, I remember it this way, but someone else remembers it another way. And like, I forget what the study was, but you're primed, and to your word primed, to think something happened that didn't actually happen.
Yeah, no, that's literally the next chapter too, where they talk about the cognitive ease and the cognitive strain, and they talk about a bunch of the illusions. So the illusion of familiarity is what I touched on a second ago, where you become more like eased with allowing bad people in your life because you see their face everywhere or something like that. But it's crazy. So like, these are just examples that I just jotted down, but this chapter says that the more legible something is for you to read, the more believable it is. So they would put like oranges are red, super legible, versus, okay, I'm making something up, versus like oranges are green, but then it's like blurry and there's not good contrast and stuff like that.
Okay.
And people would be like, which one's right? And they would put like oranges are red, just because it looks.
I get what you're saying.
Like literally more legible, which is crazy. Like your font choice and stuff. Then it is the use of complex language. Produces less credibility.
If you use more complex
language produces less credibility to your statement. So
how? Wouldn't that create more?
This is what I also thought, but what I got from the book is that when you use really big words, first of all, it seems like you're hiding some stuff, right? I can't make up an example now, but what it boils down to, or what I thought it boils down to, is the more complex your words are, the less system 2 you have to use. The more system 2 you have to use. Because now you have to identify what the words mean and how they relate.
Oh, so you start thinking about it more, and you're like, oh, wait, this actually doesn't make any sense. Whereas if someone said, the orange is red.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, okay, yeah, the orange is red.
Yeah.
But if you said something complex and convoluted about the citrusy fruit that is whatever, and
it's named after a color. Blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah, something, and it's a big paragraph that says the orange is red.
Yeah, and then things that rhyme are more believable.
I believe that.
So word flow makes things more believable.
Yeah. And I never doubt my boy Dr. Seuss.
Never. Green eggs and ham.
That doesn't rhyme.
Green eggs. But yeah, so cognitive strain, anything that strains your brain, mobilizes system 2.
Yeah.
So
you want people to be in a system 1
if you want to convince them something.
Yeah.
Wow. You want them to just don't even doubt anything you're saying. So simple language, stuff like that.
I swear Instagram ads are all system 1.
Yeah, like they are.
All of them. Because I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. I need that right now.
Yeah, I kind of went a little deep, but we were talking about how phrasing of the words. So this is in year 2. It's higher up in the chapter, but they showed like how candidates were doing interviews, and they would say the exact same thing. Like, tell me a little bit about yourself. They would say, a good thing, a bad thing. So like, I'm super hardworking. I love to do my job. I struggle with time management, and I'm a little bit lazy, or something like that.
Yep.
The candidates that put their best things first did way better.
Yeah.
Than the candidates that put the same thing. So like, I'm lazy. Like.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah, did way better statistically than the candidates that put the bad first, then their second. Because your brain associates system 1 is like, oh, good. Okay, I've already familiarized you with good.
Yeah.
And now I have to think about bad.
Yeah, they did a similar thing in this, and I think honestly, if that study was done again, I think the best way that you could do it is sprinkle in your bad in between a sandwich of good. So what I mean by that is if you said good, good, bad, good, or good, good, bad, bad, good.
Yeah.
Because they did a word association thing in here. I was listening to it, didn't write it down, but it was basically, I'm going to give you a list of 10 words, and then some of them were associated with each other, some of them weren't, some of them were random, and basically it was like, what words do you remember? If you said this, that makes sense because it was the first word we said. If it was this, that makes sense. It was the last word that we said. If you said this, that makes sense because it was the most random and absurd thing that we said. Like you have like lettuce, tomato, avocado, bacon, kangaroo. And then kangaroo. Yeah, something random that's just sprinkled in there. Well, that's gonna stick out because out of the flow state, the attentional filter, your brain picks that out.
Yeah, something like similar like that was said, but I felt like it led into norms, surprises, and causes. So, when I ask you, how many animals did Moses take into the ark?
Moses didn't.
Yeah, but a lot of people would associate Moses, so all those words make sense together.
Yeah.
And Moses makes sense because it is a biblical character.
Right.
It's got the same like flow, like Noah, Moses type thing. So people don't even question that. Oh, 2 by 2.
Yeah.
But that goes again between like norms. So like it seems normal, so your system 1 like says it's normal. So your system 2 is like, okay, it's normal.
Right. Because the blind is blinded by the blinded or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's honestly like our brains are crazy things where just the tricks that it can easily play on you and you have no idea. Like you could go your entire life and say that you were correct in this solution when everybody else knows that like Moses didn't take the animals on the ark.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, that's right. I did it.
Yeah.
Because if no one tells you you're wrong, you're just gonna think that it was right.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting part of living, I guess. Like, how do you ever know you're really right?
I knew something was wrong.
The unexpected surprises.
Yeah, exactly.
But also something that flows into like norms, surprises, and causes. If I give you the sentence, his parents are late, the caterers are expected, John is angry. Tell me a little bit about that.
The caterers are late.
His parents are late.
His parents are late. The caterers are expected. John is angry.
Yeah.
Okay, so based on those sentences, I would say John is trying to host a party, and his parents are late to it, and there's no food yet. I don't know.
Yeah. So like,
did I get it right?
Normally, what people, and like this is what I also did, is his parents are late. You associate that with being late is like bad. That's why John is angry. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the first thing my brain thought. And that's the first thing most people's brains thought. But that is your system 1 creating causes that didn't exist.
Yeah.
So your system 1 fills in the blanks.
Yeah.
So you only have, and this follows up again to the first thing that's mentioned is blindness. What was it? Blindness. No, what you see is all there is. So what you see is all there is. You know his parents are late. You know the caterers are expected, but you don't know why John is angry.
Right.
But what you see is all there is, so your brain fills in the causes behind everything.
Right. I mean, like, if you're watching a movie and the ending scene is two people kissing, and then the next scene is them waking up in the same bed in the morning. What's your thought?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you think that something more substantial happened than just two people kissing and going to bed.
Yeah.
Because you're taking what was given to you and creating your own assumptions in your head.
Yeah, it's you're creating your own cause, as this book describes it.
Yeah.
And those causes are, he like warns you against causes, especially a lot of false causes, or what you think is caused by one thing. A lot of that sneaks into the scientific literature and stuff like that, where, yeah, I don't know, he has this whole spiel about it, and it's like,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely dangerous to just like assume causes when you don't actually have the facts.
Yeah, I might be mixing this up just because it's a big book, but he really got into like sampling plants, and like a lot of literature out there has false sample sizes because of the belief that
something causes something else.
Yeah,
they talk about that in this book too. So again, the book is split up into organizing your thoughts, organizing your life, organizing your mind, but also the information overload in the world that we live in. So to be very cognizant of the information that is just given to you online. So one day they're going to say bread is bad for you. The next day they say bread is good for you. And you need to look at the samples that they take, because if they take enough samples, both of those could be true. They could have statistical evidence, or based on like their analysis, it could be both statistically significant that bread is good for you and bread is bad for you, or white bread is good for you and white bread is bad for you. Both of those could be true based on the amount of people that they sample or where they sample from. So what was the oh yeah, this was another one. They say it was called selective windowing, and where they only show good things and they don't show any bad things. So like I don't know if you ever watched like SportsCenter, but when you watch SportsCenter, they only show basketball players making shots. So you're like, if I want to be in the NBA, I have to never miss. But then you watch a game and oh wait, they miss like 50% of the time. Oh, okay, I could still do that. That's attainable.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the things that it talks about in here of what you need to be careful of when looking into different topics or information is, where is it coming from? We did this a lot in high school. I don't know if you did too, but going and finding your source. Is it credible? What's the background? It actually gave so I was listening to it, so I don't know if these are actually spelled right. I didn't check. So check me online. But rxlist.com and alexa.com can tell you who uses these sites. So if you're looking something up for, you just want a general information, but you're on Google Scholar and you are on a certain article, and it'll say, oh, mainly PhD students use this website or use this article and cite this article. Whereas that's great if you're a PhD student or you're a scientist and you need that kind of in-depth information. But if you're just the average Joe just looking for, how long do I need to put my chicken in the air fryer for? I don't need a whole article with 15 sources on it. I can just look it up. So to be mindful of that. And I hadn't heard of this website, but
no, nor have I.
But it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, it kind of maybe from what you said earlier, it goes into how your what do they call it? The machine for jumping to conclusions. So like your brain is the machine for jumping into conclusions. And we're like, again, it's like system 1 is like super gullible.
Yeah. Seems like it based on the test that I've failed.
Yeah, but system 2 is your system for unbelieving, but it is lazy. So
yeah, because it doesn't want to work all the time.
Yeah, so it's a system that you use to like unbelieve, but you're lazy. It doesn't want to work. Oh my gosh, I'm getting sick. But that all like leads into like the confirmation bias and stuff like that. And I want to point this out because it's a big point, I think, that he talks about is the halo effect, where this happens to a lot of like leaders or candidates for presidency and stuff like that, is where one part of a person makes you believe the whole of it. It's like you are very friendly and kind, but you're bad at organizing and stuff like that. Again, it's, oh, you're friendly and kind, so you're kind of good. So there's a halo effect on the person because you initially believed that they are friendly and kind, so you're less strict on the rest of their characteristics. So it's like the weight of the first impression, which we had on earlier. But this is a super cool point that he made. Is he said he started asking people when they're holding meetings, like at his job, to write like a short like description of your view of these topics, blah 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 blah. Like, give me what you think of them before the meeting.
Yep.
Because he says that a lot of the time the first one to speak
drives the conversation,
gets the most credibility and things like that.
Yeah.
Basically creates the flow of the conversation. So what he would do is he would get everyone's opinions, like right before the meeting, like 20 minutes before, send me it over, like a little paragraph on these topics. And
yeah.
He could use that as ways to handle meetings where the halo effect of the first opinion doesn't outweigh everything else.
Yeah, they talked about that in this book too, and I think that's really interesting because it is true. Like, I've thought back on meetings and things, and looking at who speaks first. I think you also take into like the credibility of that first person, though. You know, like you look at who is speaking. Oh, they have had good ideas in the past. So yeah, I think there's a little bit. I don't know. I don't think it's
bias in everything.
I mean, we've
in our relationships and everything. Yeah,
definitely. But I think there is just a little bit more to that, or at least that's what I thought when I was reading it. I was like, I don't think it's just anybody's random opinions. Like, oh, what do you want for lunch? Oh, kangaroo. Like, I don't think that everyone's gonna be like, oh, that sounds amazing. Like, I don't think so. But if you're, I don't know. I would think about it a little bit more. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I have a weird brain.
I don't think he's saying that. Also, he's in a very different field. We're in engineering, and he's in like psychology, philosophy. So I think like our meetings are like, hey, let's solve a problem, whereas his meetings are more like, what do we all think about like the way people think. I don't know.
I don't know. I think. I don't know. I think it'd be a good thing to look at in our next couple meetings and just see.
Like, just shut up and see what happens.
Or we go into our next meeting and we just say the most like random thing,
outrageous
right? Just to start out and see if people are like,
yeah, and agree with each other.
Yeah. We just mess with everyone and say, oh yeah, this has got to be the answer because I had it's got to be like a turkey sandwich or something, and just say something outrageous, and we just agree with each other, and people are like, I think he's got a point. I think that would be really funny.
That would be really funny. That would waste their time so much.
Yeah. We'd have to tell them afterwards. Yeah, I'm just kidding. This is not the solution. Disregard what I just said.
No, it's yeah, definitely not. But yeah, so like my last 2 points that I'll get into is how judgments happen. So how do you judge the things? So again, system 1 is basically only there to like solve to survive type deal. But system 2, they describe it as it deals with and creates questions. So this is what I was saying. I don't think for like our engineering purposes, a lot of us like, how do we solve this problem? So we're like asking the questions. A lot of us think on system 2 a lot of the time.
Sometimes. You don't think that there's like...
No, I do think there's times where I'm like, this does not make sense.
Yeah, but I also think there's... it depends on your level of experience. Because if you experienced something very similar, you're going to jump to that. You're going to say, right. Oh, well, I've seen this in the past. This is what it was. This is what it's got to be. And...
Yeah, it's like...
But maybe... Oh, well, it was a different material, like there were different properties, but you've seen something similar.
Of that is how the older generation engineers, if you need a part to be made, they immediately think like injection molding, like that's how it's done.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like 3D printing is taken over with like 3D
especially
printing farms,
metal 3D printing,
metal 3D printers that you can literally like make anything that you did with injection molding.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think it's just that in general, like as you get older, you get more set in your ways, as people say, and I think you use more of that system 1 brain because you've seen so much, you've experienced so much, you've categorized those things into, oh, this is polycarbonate, so this is what's going to happen to it, and if this happens, then this is the answer. If this happens, then this is the answer. It's like a PM schedule for life. Like you're staying, you have basically a solution for so many different types of things that trying to get into that system 2 brain might be harder for you because you don't want to question what you've already learned in the past.
Yeah. If you're really experienced, you could go in that flow state in engineering.
Yeah, definitely. And it's when somebody that's younger or new comes in and they're trying to, say, oh, well, have you looked at this? And you're probably in the back of your mind thinking, oh my God, yes, of course we've tried that, like, obviously. But maybe they give something else and you're like, no, I've never tried that, but I don't know why we would. Like, this is the answer.
Yeah.
But maybe they have a different solution. I don't know, but you're set on that system 1. Oh, this is right. This is what I've seen in the past. I wonder if any of them. I don't know.
It's it depends on like the style of the question, or what the question is, because the book describes also there's dealing with questions. There's like easy questions like color of the sky, blue, and then there's hard questions like will the next president be a good president?
Right.
So there's easy and hard questions, but it helps us in certain situations, but when a hard question comes up, your system 1 kind of wants to solve it because your system 2 is lazy. Right?
Right, yes.
So, for example, an example is you're interviewing a candidate for an engineering role, and the question you should be asking is, will this candidate succeed in the role? But the question your system 1 changes it to is, hey, does she interview well? Generally, if you think she interviews well, you're like, yeah, great interview, like, we should hire her. That doesn't answer the original question at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's far from.
Well, I think that goes back to the Google interview questions of they want to see how you think. They don't care if you get if you've memorized a bunch of facts or whatever. Like they want to see how you think, and if you can think properly, you'll succeed in this role.
Yeah, but that's Google doing a good job. But like us, like if we would hire people, it's not just it's for all the hard questions. This is just the example that I wrote down. Is instead of answering the hard question, we substitute an easier alternative to it.
Yeah.
Which is something similar. So, it basically like the system 1 creates a fictitious question that doesn't answer
the true question.
The true question. I'll try and think of another example that they gave, but yeah, it's like let's like take the president. Let's just take the past president, like Trump, for example. Like, was he a good president, or was he presidential? And either way,
I feel like you could say, will the next president be good?
Yeah.
And then break that down. Maybe
that's perfect. Let's go with, will the next president be good? And then like your brain will go like, yeah, he speaks well. I've seen him like walk across the thing, but you don't take into consideration that he has like history of corruption or something like that.
Right.
So like your brain just fills in like, yeah, like speaks well, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean, will he be a good president? And then, like, do his policies align with mine? Like, if you like everything a president says before the election of, oh, I'm going to do this, 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 they can say whatever they want as to what they're going to do, but does that mean that they're actually going to be a good president, a great president, a bad president? I don't know, but it's a completely different question of, okay, his policies align with my views, so I think he's going to be a good president.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the same question.
I think, like, if we break it down, like, it'll be more easy to understand if we take, will he be a good president? And your brain asks, is he friendly? Is he courteous? Is he something else?
Right.
But like being friendly, being courteous, or like being helpful doesn't mean you're going to be a good president.
Right.
You need to be able to organize. You need to be able to influence. You need to be able to make decisions. Those are all things that would make a good president.
Right. Yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah. Because it's not answering the true question.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to go into a little bit more into like the organizational piece because I mean, our books, like a lot of the things that you've said has been in this book, but like I said, there's two sides to it, and it's a little bit all over the place. Like some of the things is just your brain tricks you. What does that have to do with, okay, I need to be organized? Like some of it's a little bit all over the place, but I like how we've had a lot of the same studies and very similar things. But I think people will benefit from some of these habits. So
yeah, let's shoot.
Yeah, one thing. Yeah, we talked about beliefs and what we believe in. Chunking. So segmenting your tasks into things that have a well-defined beginning and end. So, I need to write this essay and have it completed. Okay, you have a beginning and an end, but you can chunk that into I need an introduction, I need a conclusion, I need like a topic for my first paragraph, for my second paragraph, for my third paragraph, whatever. So you can chunk that into different things in order to organize how you're gonna do a large task, because
it's how do you eat an elephant?
What?
How do you eat an elephant?
I've never heard that.
Piece by piece.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Maybe that's a South African phrase.
But I think that the reference range true. Like you want to take it like if you say eating an elephant,
impossible task.
It's an impossible task. There's so much to do. Like I could never do that. And some people like shut down. I know I do. Like if I see something that's really overwhelming and there's a lot to do, I'm just like, nope, shut down and procrastinate and put it off. But if you can try to segment those into smaller tasks, I think you'll be a lot better off. If you say, I need to clean the house. Okay, well, I need to do the dishes.
That goes back to Jordan Peterson too. Remember?
Yeah.
Where it's like, just start with something small, and then just keep going.
Yeah, just keep going from there. I mean, I think once people build up momentum in anything, like they're good to go. Like you can say, oh, it's really hard to wake up and go to the gym in the morning, but once you get to the gym, I highly doubt there's a lot of people out there that say, let me go back home. let me go back and like it's
sleep another hour.
I'm done. I'm done for the day. Like that was enough. But most people, they're up. Okay, well, day's started. Let's go. And same thing with this. Like start with your introduction, and then I'm sure like more things will just come from that. Other thing, sleeping was a big thing that they talked about, where another thing that Google does is they have nap like centers. So they have nap stations where people can go and take a nap during the day while they're at work. And in here they say that 15 minutes, a 15-minute nap can make up for an hour and a half of missed sleep the night before.
A 15-minute nap?
15.
That's
1-5.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way that, because they say that like making up sleep is impossible. Like you can't sleep an hour less the night before and then an hour more the night after. But they say that 15-minute nap can make up for an hour and a half of missed sleep the night before.
That's super interesting. Did they say like why, or is it just?
How
do they? Was the study done? Do you remember?
It was. I mean, it was basically like why
How do you quantify that?
I don't know. I think it's because of like it definitely has to do with the sleep cycle in general, and that's why people say take a 15-minute nap, not a 3-hour nap, because or like when you wake up in the morning and snooze your alarm and then you go back to sleep for 5 minutes, like, and you wake up 5 minutes later and you're more tired than you were when you just snoozed it. Like it has to do with the sleep cycle and where you're at, and just before getting to REM sleep you wake up, and that's when your body's like most refreshed before you get into that deep sleep.
You know what we should do?
What?
We should get Andrew Huberman on here too.
Yeah, Andrew Huberman, come on, we want to have you on here. Big fans.
Describe sleep and 15-minute naps. Please.
Yeah, please. We want to know more. We'd love to have you on here. I think Martin would have to come. If we had Andrew Huberman on here, we'd have to invite Martin too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know they didn't like go super into detail, or maybe I just missed it. But that was something that just stuck out in my head, and I was like, there's no way. But a 15-minute nap, they just said, take a 15-minute nap, wake up, you'll be more refreshed, ready to go. I think they called it like bimodal sleep schedule. Basically you go to sleep for a short amount of time and then wake up and go to sleep for a short amount of time, wake up, go to sleep for a short amount of time, wake up, and just kind of continue that. And people will be like up during the middle of the night, but then they'll take a short nap and then wake up and continue on with their day. And they say it's great for brain function. I don't think I could do it.
More accessible.
So like every
the normal 9 to 5.
Yeah. Well, Rich Dad Poor Dad said that we should quit. So
quit our jobs?
Yeah, quit our jobs,
right.
That we don't have to do a 9 to 5, and then we can take 15-minute naps, and then our brains will be better, and then we'll be rich, and then we'll be more organized, and then we'll have habits of effective people, and boom, we just connected all 3 books in one episode. And yeah, so we're gonna go and quit tomorrow. Just kidding. Another thing, I know these are kind of all over the place, but one of them maybe hits home. Filing, if you have folders, and we talked about categorization and how people categorize things naturally. So when I said bat, a bird, like it has wings, I think bird. But obviously I know a bat is not a bird. But if you said like, oh, I saw a pigeon flying the other day, that could be true if you replaced pigeon with cardinal or like a goose or a sparrow or something. But if you said I saw a kangaroo flying the other day, like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So those kind of categorizations. But if you have folders that you constantly like mess up, they say it's best to use colors and color code those folders. So maybe it brings a new connection to that folder. So instead of a name, maybe they're named similar, but one's blue and one's orange, two very different colors, and then you can use like that association to help find things if you constantly go into one folder but you mean to go in the other folder.
I see. That's literally more like practical advice.
Yes. Yeah. Like there's a lot of just practical advice in here.
Nice.
And it's basically, it goes back to the decisions. It minimizes the amount of thoughts that you actually need to have in order to find our podcast. Like if we need to look back and find the audio file, we need to organize it so that, I say audio file from episode 3, like boom, 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 we're easily there. But I don't need to think about it. I'm just automatically there. Same thing with like if you have bookmarks on your browser or something, it's right there. You don't need to think, what was it? HTTP //
Whenever I open my browsers, bam, and just like my 2 emails pop up like immediately.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it. It's like a habit.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing was, speaking of emails, is setting aside time where I actually think Maxim and Martin both do this, or did this at one point. They set aside time to snooze all of their notifications, or not snooze, like turn off all of your notifications. So you don't get any messages from your coworkers, you don't get any emails. Well, you get them, but you don't get a ding like notification, because it sets off something in your mind that says, I need to go do this, I need to go answer this. Oh, it'll only take a second. Let me just go do this real quick. But now you're multitasking. Now you're switching on and off between what you're focused on and what newly just shifted your focus.
Okay. So to clarify, it's you put like literally set an hour or so of your day. Like let's say it's from 4 to 5 p.m. every day. Mm-hmm. Your notifications go on silent. Mm-hmm. So whatever you're doing at that time, there's no distractions.
Yep.
So I've never thought of that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they at least did this in the past. I don't know if they still do, but I think that would be really good to implement, where you turn off all of your notifications and say, okay, I need to focus on this for an hour. I got my headphones on, I have music going, nobody bother me. It's a little bit tougher in our situation because we're in like a open space office and people are like, oh, like, hey, I need help with this, or do you have a second? But if you don't have that situation and you're able to, put on headphones, mute your notifications. If your notifications don't come through, no one's going to come bother you. Then I highly recommend that for someone that kind of struggles, because we're in such a day and age where everything is so easily accessible, and like
everything is important.
Everything is important, but as we learned from Stephen Covey, that not everything is urgent. There's important, not urgent, important and urgent, and some things just aren't important, which we had a whole discussion about in episode 1, so go check that out. But everything's so easily accessible. Like someone sends you a text and for some reason it's rude to not respond. Like you think, oh, I have to respond, otherwise they're gonna think I'm ignoring them, or I'm mad at them.
Them or whatever.
A what?
Blue tick. Oh, that's a WhatsApp reference.
Oh, what is
For
that?
all the international listeners.
Is that like you've read it? And,
yeah, read receipts.
Yeah, like I think that's ridiculous. Like if I'm not answering, I'm just busy with other things. Like I'm focused on something, and I don't really want to get distracted from that because I'm in that executive mode. Like I'm working on something. But I'll get back to it. So I think that's really good. And they also say about setting email times. So I'm only going to answer emails from 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. I'm not everything else. I'm not answering my emails. So if you want to reach me, they say.
I feel like that really depends on what work environment you are at.
I mean, I'm sure there's definitely ones where like their whole job is emails. It's like they can't do that. But I also think there's a lot of times where I get emails and I put everything on the back burner and I lose my train of thought and I have to try to refocus now. I have to go back. Okay, what was I working on? And I'm draining those thoughts. Like I'm thinking really hard about what was I working on.
Yeah. Using
the glucose. I'm using all my sugar. I'm just gonna start drinking sugar water at work when I get an email. I'm just gonna chug sugar water. But they like if you can set aside email time and only do it 2 to 3 times a day. So you check in the morning, you check at lunch, and you check at the very end of the day. I'm sure that whatever it was in that 3-hour window could probably wait.
Yeah.
So setting aside that time to yourself is pretty critical. What else? That was a big one though. That was a really good one. I think that was a good conversation.
The nice thing is about that is you can literally like, at least in our work environments and what I've worked before, like people won't care if you put it on your own calendar. Say, hey, this is email time.
Yeah.
And people will become aware of this is your email time. So at least the people who work with you would know, okay, like you check his emails here. I'm not gonna harass him. To get this done, because I know he's gonna do it at 1 p.m. or something like that. Yeah, and people will become accustomed to that. Like I don't even think you need to put it on like your calendar. You can just like not answer, and then noon rolls around or 1 p.m. rolls around, and you send out all your emails, and that's every single day. People are gonna say, oh, well, okay, I see what he's doing here. The other thing that it says is to set up another email account. This seems a bit extreme to me, but set up another email account that if it's important, like super important and urgent, send it to that email and I will respond. That one I will have my notifications on. Or like I'll tell people, don't text me, call me. If it's important, call me. Because I'm way more likely to answer a call, especially like if I'm at work and someone calls me, because I tell people like, I'm working, don't bother me at work. Text me,
if you text me, I'm probably not answering till 6 or 7. So if you set up another email account and say, this is for important stuff only, if you need something from me right then and there, email me. So I think those are super helpful. And if you need that focused time and don't get it any other time or keep constantly getting interrupted from tasks, maybe that's something to do. Another thing that hit home for me was being organized and being neat are not the same things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's always like a struggle if you're like in a college dorm. Like you can be so organized, but it doesn't look neat to someone else because their method of organization might be a little bit different.
Not what I was getting at, but it's an interesting point of like I have my organizational system. I know that my blue laundry bag is for clean clothes and my other laundry basket is for dirty clothes. Yeah. But like you walk in and you're like, I don't know, done. So, but it's like I know where things are, but someone else walks in and they would have no idea. But what I was saying was, so you have someone coming to your office and you need to clean up. drawer, close. You just cleaned your desk. It looks neat. It's not organized. It's just neat. So if you don't actually have a place and categorized things, then it's just neat. It just looks good for the time being. But in reality, you just made a junk drawer.
Yeah.
And how many of those have you made from the last visit and the visit before that, the visit before that, and then it becomes chaos. So then you have 6 junk drawers, no categorizational system, and your desk looks nice though.
Yeah.
Your desk always looks nice.
Yeah.
It's not organized though. So that one hits pretty hard, especially for the example of, people are coming over. Clean. Oh, closet. Everything goes in there. Oh, drawers. Everything goes in there. And you just hide everything and say, oh yeah, don't go in the office. It's kind of a mess right now. Everything piled up against the door. Like you open it, everything comes crashing down. Like it looks neat, but it's not organized at all.
Yeah.
And then, I think that was, giving 10 minutes before a meeting to plan. So if your meeting's at 1, take 12:50, go to your desk, headphones, whatever, sit down, focus time, plan out what you need, and then 10 minutes after, review and write up a summary.
I don't do that.
I don't either, but I think it's a really good tip. So
that is a really good tip.
You have a meeting, while it's fresh in your mind, go write it down. What did I get from this? What was said? What were my missions that I need to complete, or what were my goals that now I need, or tasks that were given to me, and then maybe check them with somebody and say, this is what I got out of it. Is this right? Send it out and say, like we have our meeting summaries that we do as a group, and send those out.
Used to.
Yeah. So I think that's important, and it slows down the transitional period. So your brain isn't, moving or changing tasks super fast. It's slowly easing its way into a transition. And so you're going from, I'm working on this Excel, to I have a meeting, versus Excel. Close. Gotta grab everything, go to my meeting. So sometimes that works out that way, but other times, it'd be probably good to give some time before. And one last study that they did is there's such a thing as giving too much information, but people don't realize this. So
definitely, dude. What is the term? Too long didn't read. Emails.
Yeah.
My man, dude, if someone sends you like an email and it's like this long, I guarantee I'm not gonna read it. It's literally too long. There's an acronym out there which is officially known. Too long didn't read.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is, and people, yeah, because I'll send out an email and it had way too much information in it, and then I get like oh, that's great. Wait. But I said how bad it was. Yeah. It's like, okay, they read the subject and said this, and this, and that sounds good. But yeah, there's such a thing as too much information. But because of the day and age that we're in, or maybe it's just your brain in general, you want all the information. You want to take in everything. And I think it was Napoleon Hill said from your book last week, like you need your what were they called? That your different friends, they have different depths of knowledge or expertise in different areas, so you don't need to have all the information.
Yeah, your counsel or something like that.
Yeah, I forget what the actual thing was. I'm trying to throw it back to all our books. We got to keep bringing it back.
I forget his actual word for it.
Yeah. Disciples or something, I don't know.
But it's basically like your counsel that you like ask.
Yeah, but so this in this study they had a game, and they were given, different groups were given different amounts of information. So one group was given 5 pieces of information, another group was 10 to 12 pieces of information, another group 15 to 20 pieces of information, another group 20 to 25 pieces of information. So all of them had more and more information, and I don't remember exactly what the game was or what the point of it was, but they said that the 10 to 12 pieces of information group performed best out of all those groups. So it was kind of like middle of the road.
What is a piece of information?
So
like
maybe
a sentence or a paragraph.
Yeah, it didn't explain.
10 to 12 is a lot of paragraphs.
But it was like probably like, oh, her shirt was blue and her hair was blonde and her eyes were blue and her she was wearing heels and she was with a guy named John and he was wearing a tie and they walked into the movie theater and all these different pieces of information. Like I said, I don't think they either didn't explain it or I didn't grasp it. But the people with 10 to 12 pieces of information performed the best. The interesting part though is all of the groups, they said to them, how many of you would want more information? All of the groups said yes. Even they didn't know how they performed, but they all asked for more information.
I see.
Thinking that the more information they have, the better they're going to do.
I see.
In reality, the people who had less information performed better. Not the least, but less information.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So does that mean we should make our podcast shorter?
No, because we're full of knowledge and everyone should listen to every word that we say.
We're not normal.
Yeah, we're not normal. We like to blur the lines.
Yeah.
But I think that was good. I just wanted to hit on some of those practical tips. If anyone, if you've made it this far, I hope that these tips were helpful for you.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else?
I think if you could actually apply them in life, it's easy to listen to them and talk about them, but actually applying them would be good.
Yeah.
Obviously, these books are far deeper than what we have time to cover.
Yeah.
So definitely, if there's any interest, go out, go read it. The links are below. Help us out too, and no extra cost. But the Amazon links are below, and there are some more topics here that I wish we had time for, but it is what it is.
Any you want to specifically hit on? Or?
No, it's okay.
No? Okay.
Go read the book.
Go check it out.
You'll have a good time. But yeah, thanks. If you made it this far, please give a like, subscribe, tell your friends about us, tell your mom about us. I apologize for my throat and the sickness, but it too shall pass.
Yeah. Mind over matter. It'll be all right. We'll be better in the next one, and we're better than we were yesterday. So thank you guys for listening. Go check out my book. It was The Organized Mind by Daniel Levitin. Very interesting read. Very interesting listen. I think having the book would be helpful and beneficial. They do have some of these studies in there that I only got to listen to, but if you're interested, go check it out. Like Yvonne said, links are in the description. Yeah. Anything else before we let these guys go?
No. Go out and blur those lines.
Blur those lines, baby. See you next week. And we're out.
What's up, blurbs? Again, thank you for joining us to the very end. If you made it this far, please follow us along on next week's episodes. We'll be tackling philosophy. I will be doing Plato's The Republic book series, Book 7, The Allegory of the Cave.
And I'll be doing A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Thank you again for joining us, and remember, stay curious, stay inspired, and blur the lines.